All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Obviously, as we know, the NFL honors just wrapped up yesterday. I wasn't told after we've been planning this for a while. I was just still under the assumption that honors was the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So I mean, we wanted to do a little preview of it, but oh well, that kind of got away from us. So I guess let's just turn this into a little recap of the awards. Started off with the Hall of Fame, obviously the biggest, the most prestigious part of, I guess, one of the most prestigious parts. So Christian, let's just start talking about them.
Yeah, so I mean the Hall of Fame players for this year have finally been announced, and obviously the big three names on there that everyone's pretty much excited about. Obviously, starting off, Devin Hester. I mean,
Controversial to
due for
some. Let's also get into that.
yeah. Honestly, I'm not even gonna say controversial, man. I think I know a lot of people can speak for that too. He's been due for a Hall of Fame spot. I mean, come on, he's arguably the best returner the league has ever seen, and for having a punt and kick returner coming into the Hall of Fame, that sets like a very high standard. Not necessarily for the league, but for
I
these
think
returners in
that's
general. And Devin Hester, the way he was
counterintuitive,
able to
but
the
yeah.
Bears, yeah.
No, I
But
mean,
I think
like
appreciate it.
I mean, me personally, I'm with the crowd that hey, it's great. I love Devin Hester. I'm really glad he made it in. I think a lot of people are like missing the fact that it's not like saying, oh, he's getting in, so guys like Cordell Patterson are gonna be easy locks for Hall of Fame. Like
Yeah,
no, like this guy, he completely revolutionized the a kick returner, and I mean, arguably, there's no one that comes anywhere close to what Devin Hester did. I mean, the iconic play in Super Bowl 41 to take the opening kick back for a touchdown. It's the only thing the Bears even did in that Super Bowl. But I mean, regardless, I mean, I definitely think it's well deserved for him. I understand why. I mean, when we're looking at guys that got snubbed, it makes sense why it's so controversial. Guys like Antonio Gates, which arguably, a top three tight end in NFL history, to be snubbed from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm sure he'll probably be in next season, but I mean, he should have been a first ballot. That I don't think anyone can argue with that. I mean, also guys like Reggie Wayne, he easily, I mean, he's been on the ballot for a while already, and for him to not make it, I think
I
that's
mean, he
also
already
a
showed his
really big thing to
frustration as
talk about.
well. When the list did come out, he already showed his frustration. I mean, Reggie Wayne,
Yeah.
what he was able to do with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, you can argue he's like very high receiver in that league during that time. Probably now you can name him probably top 10, top 15. Could be a stretch, but obviously he is due for another Hall of Fame as well. Obviously, he was a really big impact to Peyton Manning's performance on the Colts.
Yeah, which a teammate from that team, Dwight Freeney did end up making it in, which obviously on the defensive side was a big part in that Super Bowl 41 victory, and just the success that the Colts had in the 2000s. And I mean, obviously someone that probably not a little earlier than our time, but a receiver that I guess we maybe someone grew up on, Andre Johnson. It's been a while that he's been waiting to get the call, and I mean, thankful for him. I mean, he's definitely more than deserved for him to get into the Hall. I mean, countless names on here that we've been expecting that probably should have made it. And I think we can just throw in whatever the Panthers were doing on that congratulations post for Julius Peppers. I mean, I know I'll let you throw in a little bit of the conversation we just had right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, Julius Peppers too, probably one of the best defensive players. And probably the ones we've seen in our time.
One of our
And
first defensive greats that we got to watch.
yeah, he was obviously one of the first ones we got to see, and man, he didn't disappoint as well. And what the Panthers did, honestly, I don't know if it was last night or this morning, but they made a post of him honoring
I
him,
know
so they
last
were
night,
like
yeah.
about framing greatness. And that picture of Julius Peppers, I mean, it
That
looked it
little
was
AI
AI. I
generated
mean,
crap.
I'm not even gonna say that it looked like AI. It was AI, man. I mean, look at his legs. Can't even see his face. I mean, the Panthers just did not try, and they just continue to be dysfunctional here. I mean, what Julius Peppers was able to do for that franchise, what he was able to do as a player, be one of the great defensive players in the league. I mean, to get that as a recognition for getting into the Hall of Fame, I mean, just cancel the Panthers, man. Like, throw them away at that point. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, obviously just I mean, they can't do anything right. I mean,
Yeah,
ever since David Tepper got in there, I think it's all been downhill. But I mean, yeah,
it
obviously
doesn't get
that.
better for them at all.
I mean, it's never gonna get better.
It's
I
never.
mean, Dave Canales has his work cut out for him. We can just also throw that in there. But I see we'll wrap that up on the Hall of Fame and get into this year's awards. And I'll just kick it right off. The rookies, offensive rookie of the year, CJ Stroud. I, I'm not gonna be too mad about this one because I mean, hey,
I mean, he was the obvious one,
was,
but I mean,
there's no, I'm
you
not.
could
He,
make the
he
argument
definitely
for
was not the
Puka.
obvious one. Let's get that out there. He was not the obvious
Yes,
one.
it
Puka
was.
Nacua. There was no. I mean, look, I understand. I mean, what are we gonna say? Just because he took the Panthers from the number 2 pick to the playoffs and like, oh, he got a playoff win, the Rams didn't. Is that gonna be really the difference that we're gonna base this off? I mean, Puka Nacua broke 260 or no, I mean he broke a 60-year-old record. I don't remember what the catch record was, but I mean, regardless, if we're gonna really talk about rookie year, we're gonna stack up who had the better rookie year. I honestly do think you can easily give it to Puka, but of course what CJ did, I mean it's commendable, and I mean for what he did for the Texans it's great, but I stand that it should have been Puka.
No, obviously you can make a case for Puka Nacua that obviously he did break those records and he was a big hit factor in that receiving core. Like you talked about with Kupp having a little bit of a decline, especially with that surgery there. But obviously a lot could change in the upcoming season. Obviously the argument for Puka is there, but what CJ Stroud was able to do for this Texans team, I mean it's proven here. See, with franchise quarterback, the Texans are literally going to be nothing without him. And sure, I mean, you can say Puka, even if he's not on the Rams, not really make a huge difference from the Rams. But the way he
But let's also remember, it's not who's more valuable, it's who has the better rookie year.
Being a late rounder, I don't know, man. You can have your argument there, but
no,
you have your argument
I mean,
there.
let's look at that. It's rookie of the year. It's not most valuable rookie. Let's throw that in there too.
Yeah, but I mean, look, this is barely the first award. There's other awards where it was not right as well.
Okay, this next one, I mean, if you want me to get into this one, I'm gonna get right into this one, because this one I actually do have more of a case, and I got all the stuff to say. I mean, let's just get right into it. Defensive rookie Will Anderson. I mean, pretty good year. Obviously, we from the start, we expected Jalen Carter to be the rookie, but obviously with that extreme downfall with the Eagles, can easily see still a decent rookie year for him. Got a lot of potential for him, but I mean, regardless, it goes to Will Anderson. Kobe Turner only got 3rd in rookie of the year, in defensive rookie of the year voting, behind Jalen Carter. After that second half slump that we're talking about, I mean he led the league in sacks as a rookie, and I don't remember the exact stats, but he had better all around stats than both Carter and Anderson. This one, I mean, I think even you can agree that Kobe was snubbed.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe Turner, I know he was one guy you would talk about a lot, especially with the Rams during games. I mean, he was, I guess you could say he wasn't impacted on that Rams team. I mean, when he was able to, I mean, I'm not good with positions either. I think he was the D-line, or is he secondary? Yeah, so yeah, there you go.
He's a big dude, man. He ain't no secondary.
Yeah, I mean, on the D line with alongside with Aaron Donald. I mean, him as a rookie, what he's able to do with him too as well.
And that's the thing, when Aaron Donald's getting triple team, I mean, sure, maybe. I mean, if people are really gonna take that into consideration, but like, look, I mean, he's picking up the slack. Him and Byron Young, which I honestly gave more praise to Young throughout the start of the season because I had more expectation for it. But Kobe Turner just completely came out of nowhere to really surprise
obviously
everyone.
With Aaron Donald, he's obviously gonna be the focal point on offense. Worrying about him, and Kobe Turner coming in to kind of be the backup from there to finish off the play with either the sack or a huge pressure. He was doing that a lot. You would mention that a lot, but obviously Will Anderson, I guess since more of a big name and more of the success the Texans were having, that's kind of named there. But this is another big army for another Rams player being snubbed this early on in the awards. But obviously this next award, this is probably the more, I guess, consensus here. I mean, Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey here. Yeah, I think everyone pretty much saw this one covering. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, he had his case there, but a lot of people really want Tyreek Hill.
I think the injury,
MVP, but
he missed some time, and his numbers did dip a little bit. Didn't end up getting that record, so I mean, can easily see why. McCaffrey, he never dipped in his numbers, so I mean, easily it went to him.
Yeah, and that's why McCaffrey, he had the better advantage. He would just, he was playing great every single game, scoring, his yardage up. He never had a decline at all in a single game. There wasn't a performance out of this year where it was considered bad or just under the line where the type of player he really is, and him get his consistency there. I mean, he was like 23 touchdowns in the year. if I'm not mistaken, but he was over 20. It was in the 20 range, and he's a big focal point in that 49ers offense as well. So I think this is the pretty obvious one here for Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he was another name for MVP, which probably would have been the better case there, but offensive player of the year, that was
I
quite
know
right then and
that's
there.
going to be another part to get into when we get to
Yeah.
MVP. But I mean,
Mhm.
just looking at McCaffrey, just kind of like, well, which we got into this a lot in the Super Bowl preview. But I mean, it's not even like he's not just a running back. He's all around, just a massive weapon that obviously. He's a big reason why people don't give Brock Purdy a lot of the credit that maybe he does deserve. But I mean, look, he's a focal point in the run game, he's a focal point in the receiving game. I mean, he just does everything. And honestly, as much as I hate the Niners, I mean, he's one of those guys that I mean, you can't hate him, man. He just after everything he went through in Carolina, the injuries, people started really overlooking him. And I mean, look at him now to get to this level. It's really great. And to honestly, probably was snubbed from comeback player last year, and he comes back with an even better award for this one. But moving into the defensive side of the ball, this is another snub, and this one, I guess, hey, you get your midseason pick was correct at the end of the day, but at what cost, man? This is an absolute snub for TJ
But
Watt.
we both know, I both know it. I know I was wrong as well. This is obviously not the choice to go here at all whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, remember, I was saying this exact point that Myles Garrett is going to get a lot of the look because he plays on the better defense, and best player on the best defense, let's give him the award. I mean, we look at what TJ Watt does the Steelers defense was a little above average in large part because of him, and that's why to a great degree, I easily gonna have to say that it really should have gone to TJ. And believe I mean, I don't know. Myles Garrett really kind of went ghost for the last 7 games of the season. And
No,
I know
yeah,
it
towards
doesn't matter, but
I know after towards the end of the season, like the last half of the season, he wasn't really, having a huge impact on that defense as well. He was kind of going ghost, pretty much getting locked up most of the time. He's still getting some decent amount, so it's decent amount of progression, but it wasn't, those monster stuff he was racking up towards early on in the season.
Which,
unlike TJ Watt.
To his credit, it was also around the time that the Browns defense was, I guess, starting to struggle. So I guess that's where you can make the argument. Maybe he was the whole defense, but I mean, at the end of the day, to see that drop in production is, a big reason why. I didn't see any drop in production from TJ. So that's why I really should have gone to him.
Yeah, TJ. I mean, but it's the second year in a row he's been snubbed already. He should really have 3 Defense Player of the Year, awards under his belt. I mean, he was another example.
I don't know if last year you can really call it a snub.
I mean, he was a really top consideration there. Let's be real there. But I mean, this year for sure is probably he wasn't.
No, it was. I remember correctly, it was Bosa, Jones, and Parsons.
I probably don't even remember from last year,
No,
but
I mean, look, I mean, let's get out the way. Last year, I mean, it wasn't no snub, but I mean, this year, 100%.
No, yeah, without a doubt, this year, this is probably the worst snub of the night with that award. I mean, he led it in every category without a doubt. No matter what, TJ Watt, I mean, you just expect him to come back hard on next season. And now moving on to the next award, which is, I guess a good one to see, but I guess another argument for Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski. I mean, let's just say this, man.
DeMeco,
I mean, honestly, that's the thing. That's the
one the Texans should have gotten.
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
that's the one
the Texans should have gotten.
I was really hoping for DeMeco to get it. Really get it, to be honest. I mean, as a rookie coach, turning his franchise around with his rookie quarterback. But I mean, you can make the argument for Kevin Stefanski. I mean, most of the whole roster, I think it was 26% of the roster was injured. The starting quarterback rotation was all over the place, and he just got to work with a lot of missing pieces.
And especially on the offensive line. That is why. I mean, what they play with 4 quarterbacks in the grand total.
I think it was 4 and 5 around there.
I believe it was Watson, Walker,
Deshaun,
DTR,
Dorian, Walker,
and Flacco.
DTR, and Flacco.
Look, I mean, I can see why he gets it, and it's not an egregious snub by any means. He's more than deserving, but I mean, this is an award that you look more like, for DeMeco, that, he took a team that was at the number 2 pick. I don't remember what their record was last season, but to take a team in that position, I mean, people were talking about the Texans are the most dysfunctional franchise before we see what happened with the Panthers all of a sudden. But I mean, the Texans would looked horrible. I mean, there was so much hate going into, what they were doing. There was expected to be a horrid rebuild for years to come, and all of a sudden, They win the South. They're in prime position to hold the South. We'll still wait and see what goes on in that division. It's actually starting to look a little better. But I mean, regardless, I mean, I really do think it really should have been D'Amico. I mean, it's actually getting a little thrown under the rug. I mean, Dan Campbell, which he probably should have gotten more notoriety because of, I mean, hey,
I mean, he was the favorite. I mean, he was the favorite, come mid-season.
I mean, he was I won't say consensus between us because I know you made your you made a bold pick in John Harbaugh. I mean, hey, that one paid out too. But I mean, regardless, I mean, at the end of the day, it was pretty egregious to leave this one out for D'Amico, as much as I do have to agree that Stefanski did a phenomenal job with the Browns. But then of course, keeping it with the Browns, another one that I'm gonna go ahead and say was an absolute snub. And I know we had a long little, I guess call it debate between the two of us last night about it. I mean, Joe Flacco winning comeback player of the year. I can go on and on why Matthew Stafford coming back from a flurry of back injuries can easily put him into more conversation. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, it's just, coming off the couch, Joe Flacco, because he sucked, and now he played a couple of decent games, that constitutes an all-time comeback. I mean, if that's the president we're sending, I mean, it's what you said. I mean, you can just be a shitter for a year or two and then come back and put up some decent numbers,
you'll win stats. And yeah, I mean, we did have this convo, last night about it. You obviously you had your case for Matthew Stafford, and that is a very valuable case for him. But like I said, man, with the standard of the NFL setting here, I mean, pretty much be a retired player, not play for a couple years, come back out of nowhere for a team that's struggling.
Hey, let Tom Brady come back out of nowhere and come back.
I mean, yeah, I mean, shit, might as well do that. But I mean, with Damar Hamlin, I mean, bro, literally almost died. Came back, played a couple snaps. Sure, I know a lot of people were, pretty arguing about that. I mean, he hasn't made an impact to the team, but comeback player of the year. I mean, still, you went back to being alive from Joe Flacco for being washed to good. I mean, there's a lot of arguments you could really make there, but I know.
In the eyes of the voters, making the Browns good is harder than coming back from life. So I mean, that's the precedent they're setting. But I mean, look, I mean, if we're even gonna look at if we're gonna look at hey, maybe going through adversity and coming back to play at a high level, Baker Mayfield, man, to see he was getting passed around, nobody wanted him, and all of a sudden comes back in, wins a division with the Buccaneers. I mean, if we're gonna say that's the precedent, to me it should have gone to him. But I mean, I was telling you, I really thought it should have been between Tua and Stafford because they're the ones that actually went down with really tough injuries and came back. And I mean, Tua for the first half kind of played MVP level, then he flustered out, and Stafford, sure, he struggled to start, but I mean, arguably played MVP level ever since he came back from the neck injury. So I mean, it's just, I mean, the Rams got definitely the short end of the stick from all these awards, but I mean, I can't be too mad because at the end of the day, it's maybe not this one, but the others, I'll say a little more.
I mean, you really can't do anything about it at this point other than just sit back and watch what happened. Obviously, it's still pretty infuriating to watch that Joe Flacco still won it, but hey, at the end of the day, you really can't do nothing. And you mentioned MVP, and speaking of MVP, I mean, let's get right to. I know we have some decent amount of stuff to say about this one. I mean,
let the game
Lamar Jackson. Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson. I mean, let's get this straight. I mean,
it's a weak MVP campaign.
It is. I mean, the quarterback play this season, sure. Many arguments can be made of this, that the quarterback play this year wasn't, I
mean, with all the quarterbacks that went down,
at its high,
kind of
if we're being realistic here. Yeah, quarterback play wasn't really at its high here. Really, everyone's fan favorites for MVP, they want to get rid of the quarterback award. And obviously, that's the standard that the NFL's been setting again for, a couple years from. I mean, the last non-MVP to win, the last non-quarterback to win MVP,
Peterson.
I think it was...
Adrian Peterson,
yeah, it was Adrian Peterson. I believe it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, around that year, yeah, and a running back. I mean, the last running back to win MVP from Adrian Peterson was Emmitt Smith, and from there, and that was in '93, man. And from there, really, it's just been quarterbacks at this point for MVP. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, that was probably a fan favorite where everybody wanted to go towards you. I mean, a running back put up these numbers, just like being the one of the greats here. But with Lamar Jackson, I mean, sure, you can make the argument that Niner game, I guess you could say it solidified his chance for the MVP, and
at least
another
we didn't
argument.
see Brock Purdy winning it, man.
Honestly, Brock Purdy, he had his case there, but like I don't care. I'm still gonna defend my guy, Dak Prescott. I don't care what anybody says. Stats wise, he had the better stats out of everyone. And if we're talking about snubs, you can even throw in Josh Allen there. The only thing with Josh Allen is everyone's gonna complain about the turnovers. I mean, Josh Allen was still top 5 in every category.
I don't remember the exact stat I saw, but I think he was in the top 5 in passing yards, passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns. First to ever do it, and doesn't get MVP. So I mean, like, you could even make an argument for him. I definitely understand that, but
the case for Josh Allen, it is there. It's just like I said it before.
Yeah, I know
it's what everyone is
when you have those turnovers, it's gonna be a big case. And I mean, look, for Dak, I mean, hey, I was pulling for him. I mean, remember when Purdy was the favorite? I was definitely saying, Dak definitely has his case, but look, his play diminished for a bit too. I think if we're really gonna look at it, that Niners game, that Bills game, and forget which other tough loss you guys had in sprinkled in there, but
Cardinals game. I'm not throwing the Cardinals game too early on. The Cardinals, the Bills, the Niners.
Which I mean, overall, so a couple stuff, tough games like that. I mean, can definitely see why his stock was diminished, and I mean. It's just what you were saying. Quarterback play wasn't at its best this year. It was kind of looking like it was going to come down to the best, the quarterback of whoever gets the top record, and obviously that's exactly what ended up playing out. But hopefully next season get a little better quarterback play. Maybe a Glock 9 Matt Stafford to rein it back. And I mean, hey, I've been expecting a lot of great things for us next year, so we'll see about that. But of course, we'll close this out with arguably the most prestigious award in the NFL, because this takes into account, not only what you do on the field, but of course what you do off the field, in the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Obviously, the reigning player to win this was your quarterback, Dak Prescott, and we had a whole situation to get into there. How such a pretty poor way that he got his reception at the Super Bowl. But us looking into the season, I know this is a little harder for us to talk about, because it's kind of just it's just humanitarian stuff, when it's not really stuff you can just actually analyze. But the winner being Cam Hayward, obviously, I mean, all of these guys, everyone's obviously deserving. I don't remember who either of our finalists were, if I'm being completely honest. But, I mean, you had Dak. I obviously had Andrew Whitworth win it a couple years back. It's obviously a nice thing to see, someone from your team, doing great things in the community.
Yeah, and obviously, we have at least something to be happy about there. But, like you said, this is the most prestigious award in the NFL. Obviously, like you said, I mean, not really much to say about this word, but you can't really be mad about this. And I mean, we saw with the thing, like you brought up Dak as well. I mean, how can you be mad at someone doing good for the community? Like, at that point, like, you're just a hater at that point. But obviously with Cam Hayward,
I mean, it's Eagles fans,
really
of course they're haters.
At all. I mean, the Eagles. I mean,
they're to another level. Hey, we're
came back to bite them in the ass.
But there's something else about the Eagles.
It's Eagles. It came back to bite them back in the ass for losing the Super Bowl. So, that made me chuckle a bit. Dak got an award that night. They didn't. So, haha. But without a doubt, Cam Hayward, very well deserving of this award. And, do not really expect any boos like last year for him in the Super Bowl.
I mean, obviously he won. It's going to be, obviously do expect a nice reception for him. But, of course, that wraps up the NFL honors. Little recap and reactions for us. Obviously, very opinionated, at least, for me on mine. I mean, sure, you can say your own things about Dak, but obviously that wraps us up for this one. Super Bowl just 2 days away, or probably the day after. I don't know when I'm going to get this out for you guys, but regardless, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys back when we get to recap the big game on Monday.